Okay.
Okay, it's August 24th, 2024. I'm with Mr. John J. Jeckovich, and we're on section 2 of today's reading, chapter 15, Paroles on the Rhine, VE Day, and I'm picking up on the reading a few minutes ago. Before I start, what was your dog tag number?
42965.
Okay, that's the key. All right, as we crossed the canal on the wooden ramps, we were getting sniper and machine gun fire. They were coming from the two houses in Hornhorst, a small village on the canal's edge. The platoon riflemen went after them and shortly came back with 6 prisoners. How do you handle prisoners during the middle of a war?
Well, you get them and you sit in the back. You set them, you don't worry about them.
You sit them in the back?
They're not a luxury.
So what do you mean they sit them in the back?
Huh?
What do you mean? What do you do with them?
Well, we're ready to go back pick these guys up. We'd all be bothered with them.
Or do you handcuff them?
Yeah, it's a hazard. It's a hazard.
But do you handcuff them?
No. We took the weapons away, and then we watched them, and that was it.
So they just sat there, basically.
Yeah, we fed them, and that they were lucky to be alive.
Did any of them try to escape?
Pardon?
Did any of them try to escape?
Huh?
Did any of these 6 prisoners try to escape?
No. They didn't want to go back to Germany.
Okay. We went after them and shortly came back with 6 prisoners. We are not setting up since we are moving too fast. In an hour's time, the entire battalion was clear of Hornhorst and onto the Autobahn and headed towards Ickrung and Heidelberg. We stopped at a creek while the artillery laid a 15-minute barrage into the Ickrung. We moved ahead with the assault troops and secured all bridges on the Autobahn except one. A rifleman shot the German who had blown it. The Germans were firing flat trajectory guns at us from the main road leading into Ickrung from the northeast. We set up and began firing at the guns and put several of them out of action. The riflemen took care of the rest. As we advanced and secured the
Don't forget they had the Army Air Force shooting at them too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Air Force is coming too.
All right, tell us how that worked.
Yeah.
Tell us how that would go.
Well, you use every advantage you have, and the advantage was the Air Force. The Air Force was real good. They had machine guns on their wings and everything.
How many caliber machine guns?
How many?
What were the caliber of the machine guns?
On a machine gun, 30.
Oh.
Armor piercing.
They'd do a hell of a lot of damage, that's for sure. About how many rounds per minute?
130 rounds per minute.
Okay, let's see. We raced into the second-story window and began firing, watching the Germans scattering to our front. We were getting small fire, but were well protected by the thick walls of the factory. A half-track came alongside our window and made a short work of remaining Germans in our immediate vicinity. After clearing out the factory, we were back on the Autobahn, heading for Heidelberg. The four platoons had taken cover along a ditch besides the roads that lead to Heidelberg from the north. The enemy was in the ditch on the opposite side of the road, and there were reports that they were also to our rear, the same ditch we're in. Lieutenant Smith, 3rd platoon leader of G Company, told us to set up our gun to fire and wait for his order to fire. He then scampered along with several riflemen down the ditch. Within 5 minutes, he was back telling us to get ready to fire. Upon his order, we fired right down the ditch, and we could see the Germans attempting to climb out of the ditch to avoid our fire. The Germans on the opposite side start firing and the 2nd Platoon, G Company, flanked them and put them in a crossfire. We swung the gun around, hoping to catch any Germans fleeing to the side. Most of them were either killed or taken prisoner. When we got to Eichenberg, the enemy was firing 88 millimeter anti-tank guns point blank at us. How big is an 88 millimeter shell?
How big?
Yeah, about how many feet?
It's 18 inches, 18 inches in 2.5 inches diameter, about.
Monster shell. And a squad rifleman crawled up along the hedgerow and killed the gun crew. We kept moving and reached the railroad station at Hoghurst that night. We stayed in an abandoned flour mill that night along with 2 squads of men from G Company. We slept on piles of straw found in an adjoining barn and took turns on guard duty. How was it sleeping on the straw?
No, it was warm.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was like the best pillow
Yeah.
you had in a while, right? We had not seen Post for several weeks, and I wondered if he was all right. A jeep from G Company brought us some K rations, and the rumor was we were jumping off again tomorrow morning. I lay down on a pile of straw. Too exhausted to think about anything, and soon fell asleep.
23.
I was awakened at 300 hours to pull 2 hours of guard duty. As I stood there crouched in the foxhole, I thought about the morning a few hours and the attack at 700 hours and 200 hours of the same day. Field order number 15 came down from headquarters, 16th Corps, setting the 4th and 3rd phase of the campaign. The 75th Infantry Division was to slash down the Rhine River just west of Dortmund, preventing the enemy movement between Dortmund and the west. The 17th Airborne Division on the 79th right and the 35th Infantry Division between the 17th Airborne, and the 75th Infantry Division would aid and assist. To direct the all-new phase, Division headquarters moved to Meckenhoven. I was relieved of guard duty at 500 hours and expected to return to the flour mill for a couple hours sleep before we jumped off. The soldier we relieved informed me that they wanted to see me at the CP or G Company, not the H Company. The company commander or G Company, a Captain Chatfield, was at a makeshift desk made up of old crates with a kerosene lantern affording the only light. He studied detailed maps and roster reports. He offered me some hot coffee, which I accepted, and then he told me that he was putting what was left of my squad into Squad 1 of his platoon. We would still have the Heavy 30. The Heavy 30 is the machine gun, right?
Yeah.
But it would afford us more maneuver power in the form of ammo barrels. So by moving into this other platoon, you have more ammo barrels.
Oh, yeah.
And without ammo barrels, you're out of business.
Well, yeah, because you use that stuff up fast, and those guys are in real critical condition.
Yeah,
They're wide open, they're slipping on landmines and everything else.
yeah. He also stated that I would have to fill in as a gunner with Tuttle, my assistant, and the rest of the 2nd Squad, 1st Platoon as ammo bearers. I would also be a squad leader as the 2nd Squad was short of a sergeant. He realized I have not got my stripes. Now this is like the 5th time you didn't get your stripes.
The what?
This captain realized you did not get your stripes yet. He realized I had not gotten my stripes, but chalked it up to mass confusion back at battalion headquarters.
Yeah.
We still had a function. We were still functioning as heavy weapons.
Well, if you went in the company headquarters, everybody in there had stripes on. They were either commissioned or not commissioned. At least sergeant. And we were running around PFCs.
Yeah.
What's PFCs?
PFC?
Pilot first class.
Providing supporting fire for the riflemen. Even though under unusual circumstances, it appeared probably the best solution for a complex situation. I finished my coffee and we each made small talk. I departed the flour mill to inform the squad of our change of plans. They took it as a matter of course and stated we are fortunate to get the extra men. The extra men you received were ammo bearers.
Yeah. Recruits, replacements.
Just green, right?
Yeah.
I was a little perturbed at the last tirade, but what disturbed me the most was I was not looking out for my interest. I had been acting squad leader, acting section leader, and at times acting platoon leader, but still not received a single promotion. I think of Larson, of his rapid promotion to the staff back at the battalion, and it made me all the more resentful and offended.
Yeah, Larson had a sergeant stripes already. And he didn't get the combat at all.
I would admonish myself for not speaking up and demanding my stripes, but would invariably recoil. Each time I think of my brothers on how they would take or do whatever they wanted to, despite the consequences might befell anyone. I did not want to be like them, but I had no way of acting on my behalf, so I'd have to suffer the aftermath of my behavior. After a 30-minute artillery preparation, the division attacked at 0700 hours. We set up the base of fire and let Tidal do the actual firing, as he needed the experience, and I scouted for the alternative position. We had not gone some 50 yards when we found ourselves pinned down by heavy enemy fire, utilizing artillery and self-propelled guns and anti-aircraft weapons. I spotted an abandoned farmhouse and hurried the squad inside, hoping that the German artillery did not have it zeroed in. It was finally repulsed by our own artillery and mortars, having spotted and zeroed in on the German positions. I found the alternate position for the gun and dispatched shuttle and the squad to it. On the right, the 2nd Battalion, 201st Infantry, found itself pinned down by heavy enemy fire. A counterattack and an enemy paratroopers were supporting artillery and self-propelled guns. We were repulsed by a combination of several things that troops had devised. Tuttle was doing great on the gun, and I began to depend on him more than good judgment seemed necessary. It seemed whenever I started to depend on someone, something invariably happened, and I was usually lost him, one way or another. I dismissed the thought, hoping that this time would be different. The riflemen from G Company were just great, and I only wished I had more of them. We were coming up on Duzen when we started to receive tank infantry counterattack. I could hear the familiar rumble and the squeak of the bogie wheels. They were M4s. Is an M4 a Panzer tank?
A what?
Is an M4 a Panzer tank?
A Panzer tank?
What's an M4?
M4 is a tank.
Is it a Panzer tank though?
Living abandoned.
Is an M4 and an M5, are those considered Panzer tanks.
No, 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 no.
What's the difference between a Panzer and an M4?
A Panzer and what?
What's the difference between a Panzer tank and an M4 tank?
Panzer tank is a German tank, and M4 is an American.
So the M4s and 5s are Sherman tanks?
No, the M4 is an American tank.
What's a Sherman tank?
That Panzer.
Okay. I told Tuttle to pull out the gun, and we're going into more protective position. I could hear our own 105s and 155s going overhead as they weaved their way across the attacking tanks and infantry. Our own 81 millimeter mortars opened up, making a dull whooshing sound as they hurled overhead. The men from G Company were situated in a barn and foxhole, awaiting further orders. We had ample ammunition for the time being, and I told them to stay put and watch for snipers amongst all the artillery. The Germans were using something I've not seen since the Battle of the Bulge. They were using Schwarzbahn-wagons, armored half-tracks with flamethrowers mounted on them. These scared me more than the artillery or mortar fire. Their deadly flame could reach 200 yards, burning anything to a crisp.
Yeah.
That's a great
How many times
distance.
did he see that flame?
How many times did you see those flamethrowers?
How many times? Not, I didn't want to see them at all. They could throw that shot 50 yards.
But did you
Any direction.
did you see them a lot?
I've seen them a couple of times. I had enough.
When they're shooting the flames, don't they become a great target and everyone shoots down on them?
Oh yeah, but they got guys behind them trying to get the guys to shoot their tanks.
That's a something. That's a something. One parked 50 yards to our right of our position. I was reassuring to have its presence afforded such a protective cloud over us. I knew the armored half-track would not engage a Sherman in a frontal attack, and I only hoped that tank commander would see him first. The attacking Germans started to close in on us, and I gave Tuttle the word to open up on them. The Sherman next to us started firing its turret-mounted machine guns, as well as a 75 millimeter cannon. Were you ever interested in operating a tank during the war?
Tank?
Were you interested in being a tank operator?
No, no, no.
Why not?
I'm claustrophobic.
And how many soldiers are in a tank?
3, 4, 5.
That's really tight.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
tight.
What does each one of them do? You got a driver?
What does each one of the people in the tank do? What's the 4 or 5 soldiers inside of a tank? What do they do?
They were out looking out the piers, looking to see where the enemy was, handling the radio, and getting the guys coming in with the ammo, pick the ammo up through the hatch.
Did most tanks get destroyed during the war?
The what?
Did most German and American tanks get destroyed during the war?
Oh yeah, they were right in the center of it.
Not many left, huh?
No.
Did most of the tank operators were killed?
Well, the tank was destroyed. They were killed too.
Yeah.
They were sitting targets.
Yeah. Was there a lot of tanks in the Pacific?
Oh yeah. It was a different type of war there, though.
Tell us about it.
Well, the Japanese would dig tunnels and holes and everything else, and they were real small. They could crawl in those little pissy-ass holes.
And how'd they get the Japanese out of the tunnels?
Put a flamethrower in there.
When the war in Germany in the European theater ended first, the war in the Pacific theater was still going strong.
Yeah.
Did you and your other soldiers have thoughts that they're going to send you over there?
They were sending me over, yeah, sure. They sent the advance company over already.
But you didn't go.
No, we were lucky.
Do you think it was the atom bomb that stopped
Yeah.
bombing those two cities? And death tolls were in the hundreds of thousands. And that was the first time in the history of the world an atom bomb was ever dropped on a city, ever.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened since. And I could tell you this for a fact, if the infantry did not win the war, in Europe, the USA would have dropped the A-bomb there too.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that.
Oh, yeah, they would, yeah.
There would be no questions asked. If the infantry soldiers got defeated, which will never happen, but if they did, there was plans to drop an A-bomb right there too. Let's thank God that didn't happen, because when that bomb hits, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people's instant death.
Yeah.
Horrible thing, horrible thing. Okay, here we go. The attacking Germans started to close in on us, and I gave Tuttle the word to open up on them. The Sherman tank next firing its turret-mounted machine gun, as well as the 75mm cannon. It started to scatter the Germans as they sought protection from our firing and attempted to flank our tankers.
8 minutes.
Yeah, just think about it. The tank operators have to have been a very special person.
Who?
Tank operators, they had to be very special people. They had to climb into that little tank. They had to, be very good with weapons. And two, they had to be somewhat mechanics. Tracks are always coming off. Tanks need always...
And they had to maneuver in tight spots?
Maneuver in tight spots. There's all parts of positions the Germans put out that would not allow the tank to go further.
Yeah.
So not only do they have to be great fighters and be able to be in very close quarters, they have to be somewhat good mechanics too. They have to be somewhat good mechanics, because aren't the tracks always slipping off?
Yeah.
The tracks are always slipping off. Rubber or steel tracks, they're going to slip off. And their targets are always being hit on. I was wondering if many of the German weapons could pierce our tanks.
Oh, yeah, armor piercing.
Yeah. We had lost 2 Company G riflemen in the artillery exchange, and 2 were wounded severely. That left us where we're back before we took Company G replacements. It was thought by many, including me, that this stubborn opposition by the enemy was the scene of some of the toughest and fiercest fighting since the Ardennes and the Bulge. Most of it was fought by the 3rd and 2nd Paratroop Regiments of the 2nd Paratroop Division. Despite the fierce opposition, we cleared the Kastrov Rocks area that night and set up roadblocks and defensive positions on our right flank. Again, we borrowed troops from Company G for their roadblock during the night. There would be 2-man shifts that would change every 2 hours. Tuttle and I split up between the men and the G Company. We were afforded the luxury of a telephone wire, something we had not seen in quite a while. We were fortunate to occupy an abandoned bunker, complete with the overhead logs, and earth and large enough for 2 men and a gun. Tuttle pulled the first 2 hours with the main G Company, and I would awaken at 300 hours for my turn along with someone from the G Company. We were occupying a small farmhouse near our gun position, and we feel pretty secure as there was a Sherman at the next farmhouse, 200 yards to our east. There were also mortar outposts, along with a string of riflemen stretching out a mile in each direction. Did most of the riflemen get more stripes?
More stripes?
Did most riflemen get stripes?
Well, they're in the army. They do what they have a job to do. They might get a stripe. They might not get a stripe.
But the riflemen were ones on the front line, and you were behind them about 50 feet, right?
No. We're supporting. We're probably right behind them. We're right behind them.
Like how many feet?
Huh?
How many feet behind them?
I say about 10 feet.
So you weren't up there?
We were up there, yeah. We weren't 50 feet behind them shooting stuff over their heads, no. We were giving them support fire. Every time they got a jab, we moved the gun around someplace to get at them.
So the riflemen were very instrumental in this war.
Well, they were the main man.
Wow.
They went out on patrol. They went across the field, whether there's line mines or not. They went.
I imagine there was a lot of casualties with riflemen.
They said they go across that field, get pinned down, or hit the line mines.
Did you think you might have been in the position of being a rifleman?
No.
No.
I was lucky to get in heavy weapons.
Were most of the riflemen 18 and 19-year-old kids?
Same age as me, yeah. All 33s.
What's 33s mean?
19.
So that's a code?
No, combat, yeah.
I see.
19. They want 19-year-olds.
And what did a rifleman mostly carry as a weapon?
Carried an M1.
And did they all each have ammo bearers?
And ammo bearers carried their carbines too, slung over their shoulder.
Okay. Wow. And in front of you with the riflemen, how many riflemen would be there?
What?
You're about 10 feet behind the riflemen. How many riflemen were in front of you?
A rifleman, say a squad or a platoon.
How many's that?
35, 40 men.
I see. Did a rifleman also carry a pistol?
Pistols?
Yeah.
No.
Did primarily just MPs carry pistols?
Who?
MPs carry pistols?
MP carry pistols? Most of them carry carbines.
I see.
Pistols worthless.
Did you say Lape always wanted to shoot with a pistol?
What?
Didn't you tell me one time that Lape was shooting his pistol at the enemy?
Lape was shooting a pistol?
Did you tell me
Lape
that?
didn't have a pistol. No, I don't think I told you that.
Well, you said someone was using a pistol.
Someone was using a pistol?
Yeah, I'm looking back in those chapters back.
Probably some recruit coming in had a pistol and he started shooting it.
Yeah. And they're all 45s?
All 45, yeah. Which was useless.
Why would you say the pistol is useless?
Well, you don't have the firepower, you don't have accuracy.
When you left the war, did you take up hunting or target practice?
The what?
When you left the war, you were discharged. Did you take up hunting or target practice?
No, never went back.
When you left the war, did you ever shoot a gun since then?
A what?
After you left the war, did you ever use a weapon?
No.
Did you ever pull a trigger?
I never had a weapon in the house.
So that was the last time you fired was an active duty.
Yeah, the first time I got in there, I didn't fire at all when I first got in. When I was firing with weapons, and then I stayed with them, and then when I got out, I dropped them. I didn't take any weapons home with me, nothing.
And you never fired again since the war?
Huh?
You never fired a weapon again since the World War II?
After?
Since you left World War II, did you?
No, I don't go on target practice. I don't do that.
You don't even own a weapon?
Yeah, I don't do that, no.
Okay.
I didn't have a weapon in the house.